Hey YouTube, so today is the second to the last Friday in November, so we have one more Friday after this, and that's the Thanksgiving week. So anyway, my next project, I'm done with the Jeep and she already took it, so I have to change the oil on this 2002. I have to change the oil on my wife's Blazer, and I need to change the oil on our four-wheeler. So that's what I'm going to be doing this morning. As far as the weather goes out there, I don't know what's happening. It was sunny, it rained twice, and it was sunny twice. So I don't know what's going on. It's calling for snow, but it's slightly above freezing. But yet it feels really cold out, so it's kind of crazy weather too. Okay guys, so I'm underneath the 2002, and just to give you an idea here what's going on, this is the transmission, this is the bell housing, and this is the engine here. So changing oil on this truck is pretty nice. The oil filter's right there. The nut to allow the oil to come out of the oil pan is right here. So I've got myself a metal pan here to catch the oil. So let me just look at let's see here. It's hard to see the socket thing on here. I just want to see what size it is. Oh man, I can't even get close to seeing what that thing is. Yeah. Hold on a second, I'll tell you what size this socket is on here. Okay. Are you focusing? Alright, so this nut that's on the oil pan, that's 15 millimeters on this truck. And believe me, they're all kind of different sizes. But anyway, this is 15 millimeters. And you can see this truck is in pretty good shape yet for a 2002. But I really should have washed it before I brought it in. But I was going to, but I just didn't have a chance, and I was tired because it was at the end of the day. So we're going to loosen this up a little bit. I want to take the oil spout down the filter first, and I'll show you the tool I have for that. And it depends on what you use. I find this to be the best type. It's a strap. It takes either size ratchet, and you can put this strap over top of your oil filter, and you push this down towards the thing there, and then you can just, you know, put your ratchet on there and tighten it. Now I need two hands to do that, but so you can tighten this, you know, and take it off, and it's easy to put another one on. And the oil filters they don't seem to be too big on these trucks, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to take the oil filter off first, because there won't be that much oil dripping down for it, and it's the furthest away from me. And then I'll take the oil from the pan, but I'll leave them both drain at the same time into the metal pan that I have here. Okay, so that's the oil filter. You can see it's all covered with oil there. That's why I'm wearing gloves. I normally don't wear gloves, but I'm wearing gloves today. And it's dripping out, and now it's dripping. It was running. So I'm going to try and take that down without spilling it. There's not a lot of room there, you can see, to move about, but it's better than most that I've seen. So let me get that down. So this is full of oil, and you know, because it's got oil all over it, when you go to let it down, sometimes it slips out of your hand, which isn't good. But I think we'll be alright here. Okay, so I gotta look at the number on this thing, because I want to 21522. Okay, so that's what that looks like up in there. We're going to let that drain out, and now we're going to take this plug off of here as well. Okay, so you can see the oil's running out of there. The one thing that I'll tell you that's kind of a pain is you got to keep the oil pan that way when you first take the nut off, because the oil comes out of there pretty hard. But if you look, you'll see it's moving backwards. Now if you just walk away from this, it's going to end up getting all over your floor. And there's 5 quarts of oil in there, so you really don't want that. So, and I managed to spill a little bit here and there, but it's not real bad. But still, like I say, it's 5 quarts. Now what I do with this stuff is I normally put this back into a 5-quart container, and I actually use it to start the fire in my wood stove in the garage. So that's how you get the oil out of the car. Okay guys, so this is the nut that came out of there, the plug I should say. And you can see there's a magnet on the end of it to pick up anything that might be in there. You know, as far as metal scrapings or whatever. There's nothing in there. I wiped it off onto the towel and we're good. So I'm going to put this back in. I usually don't put nothing on it because there's a flat rubber along that big flange there. And you don't want to go tighten these too tight, but tight enough to stay in there. Because if you make them too tight, all you do is give yourself grief later trying to get it off. Let me just get my other hand up there. So that's good enough there. And now we need to look up, yeah, where the oil thing was, because I want to wipe that off. Now, what happens here is the rubber gasket goes onto this flat machined aluminum here, and you want to make sure you wipe that off good. I wiped the threads off so there's nothing on there, but that's good. There's nothing else coming out of that. And I use different filters. I'm not real fussy about all this different stuff, although I like them clean. And this I've had this on the shelf for quite a while, but it's still a good filter. Purelator Pure 1. Now, I'm not saying it's the greatest filter, that it's not any good. I'm just saying this is what I'm using. So, you find the bolt there, and you can tell, you know, you're snugged up. Now, that filter's a little smaller than the other one was, but again, I don't drive the trucks without changing oil every 3,000 miles. I change it every 3,000 miles. This is the filter that I had got. Let's see, I didn't get it at Napa. I got this filter, I believe, at Walmart a long time ago, maybe about 2 years ago. I had bought a bunch of filters. So I'm just putting that one back up here. As long as it fits and it works, that's all I care about. As far as the gap here, it'll make it easier for me to get it out next time, you know, without spilling it. And that's basically it. So I'm going to tighten that up, snug it up with the strap that I have, and then I'm just going to go ahead and put oil in it, and then that'll be it. Also, as far as tightening this filter, what I do is I turn it by hand until it's against. Okay, now they tell you to actually tighten it by hand. I like tightening them a little tighter than that because I've had quite a few filters over the years not hold the oil in. So what I do is I put the strap wrench in there and I try and turn this 3/4 of a turn from the time it's tight. And not tight, but I should say from the time the rubber's against the metal. Okay, because there's a rubber on the end of this. And once I'm touching, I'll go 3/4 of another turn. Now I can't usually get that by hand, but I can get it with the strap wrench, and then I'm sure it's going to be okay. Alright, so that oil's out of there. We'll dump oil in. I'll show you what type I use. And that's something I'm not too fussy about anymore. I used to be, but I've kind of changed. Okay guys, so this is a V8 here. Yeah, and this is the dipstick for the motor oil. The drop tube to drop the oil in. Okay, it says 5W30. Well, there's not a lot of miles on this truck for 2002. There's 80,000 miles on this, and it just turned 80. So to me, 80,000 is quite a few. So I'm raising that. I'm going to go from 5 to 1040, because when I start the truck, I usually don't pull out right away with it. I usually let it warm up, and that's all works together. Now you can do whatever you want. You can follow the Chevy thing here. This is just what I do after the years that I've worked on cars. So, and I never used to use Traveler before, but my thing is I actually like Quaker State. And the problem is that the Quaker State's not being sold everywhere that it used to be sold. And I'm having a hard time actually finding Quaker State in a lot of places. They used to sell all kinds of motor oil. Now they're going to the more popular ones. But I do like Quaker State, and I've used that. This isn't the first time I've used Traveler. I'm going to use it, you know, probably in this truck it might be the first time, but I've used this in other vehicles, never had any problems with it. And like I say, changing motor oil every 3,000 miles will definitely protect your motor. It's not just the type of oil you use, and that's not to say that there's oil that's not better than others, because there is, but I'm using this, and that's what's going in here today. So it uses 5 quarts, this is 5 quarts, and then we'll be good. Probably about 4.5 quarts actually. Okay, so I've got the motor oil in there. The indicator shows it's full. I've got the cap back on, and while I was here a couple of weeks ago I had gotten a thing on the computer showing that it said that there was low on antifreeze, and I just looked at it and it was about, I don't know, 2 inches below the fill line. So I just put some antifreeze in there, so I should be good with that. So I'm going to start the truck and get it out of the garage and let it run until it warms up, and then I'm going to bring her car in now. Okay guys, so I've got her Blazer in here, and the Blazer has 200,000 miles on it. So I just put some brake fluid in here. I'll show you the full. You can see maximum. I like having it up to maximum. You can be between minimum and maximum, somewhere where this line is here or this mark, but you know, maximum is where I like it. So I filled that. I filled her windshield washer fluid up, and let me check the power steering here, see how that is. Yeah, that's still full, so I don't need to worry about that. I'm going to go on the other side there then and take a look at the motor oil things. And I think, I don't know if this car needs any antifreeze in it or not. I have to check on the other side. So on this side of the car then, this is the oil fill cap. Okay, so I'm taking that off. It also says to use 5W30, but this thing has 200,000 miles on it. Now I do have some Quaker State for this. It's a different type of an oil. I'll show it to you when I go dump it in. And then here's the dipstick for that. Now this thing here has needed the motor oil change for about a month. Now you know that I worked on the Jeep and I was working on other things, so I'm about a month overdue, but we don't hardly drive anywhere anymore, so it's probably about 300 to 500 miles over what it ought to be. So whatever it is right now, I just add 3,000 to that, and that's the next oil change. Now the truck was also telling me it needed to change the oil, but the difference with the truck is there's probably 50 miles extra on that because I barely take it anywhere. So we're going to drain the oil out of this now. Now with 200,000 miles on the car, you can see there's some dirt and stuff underneath there because our road is just so dirty that we always use this whenever we can to drive on the road and not use the truck. So this is, you know, this is the transmission pan. You got the exhaust pipe, and then here you have the nut to take out of the oil pan to get rid of the oil. This is a 6-cylinder. Now the only thing is with these 6 cylinders, and it's actually handy if you didn't have the brake and the wood piled in front of me here, but what I have to do is come up here to the front of the car and take this down, because this is actually where the oil filter is. So I'm going to take the oil filter down first, and then I'll drain and change it, and then I'll drain the motor oil out of the oil pan. So let me get that taken care of. Now the one thing nice about the oil filter being in the front of the car like this is it is easy to get at. The only problem is you think that they would have put it so that it was straight up and down. they didn't. It's sideways, which means that as soon as you loosen it, you are dripping oil out of it. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's better to be on the opposite side of what I'm on here. You can see as soon as you loosen it, it starts to drip out the front. So we'll see if we can get that to slow down a little bit there, and then we'll finish taking that filter off there. 21036. I'm pretty sure I have a couple of them up there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do. If I don't, I'll have to go get one, but I usually have what I need as far as filters go. Alright, so I'm going to let that drain out of there, and then we'll put the new filter up, and then we'll grab the nut and take that out of here, and then let the oil drain out of the pan. Okay, so the new filter's on there. So all it is a matter of screwing one off and screwing the other one on once it stops dripping. And now I'm gonna put this door up there. You just turn it a half a turn and it's tight. So I'll put that up, and then I'm gonna drain the oil out of the crank. Okay, so the nut that comes out of this, or not the nut, but the bolt that comes out of this oil pan has also a magnet on it. The only thing there's missing the rubber that goes around the bolt. But if you look there, you can see the rubber still on there. So it's probably stuck on there, and that's fine. As long as I get the motor oil out of this, I'll put the nut back in there and we should be good. All these different size things. This one here, where the heck is my wrench? Let's see, this one here. And I can barely see this. Hold on. Okay, this bolt here is also a 15 millimeter. Okay, just so you know. And that's on a 03 Blazer. So just to give you an idea, the 02 that I have, you know, we don't put near as much mileage on the trucks because I don't go anywhere since I've been basically retired, and I have a couple of trucks, so it's not like I only have one to drive. I do certain things with certain trucks to try and save them, but we, like I say, we use this thing mostly all the time because of the mud, and it's got a lot of mud underneath it. Surprisingly, there's not a lot of rust. But I did notice one of the leaf spring, I can't even think of the name of them. The holder for the rear of the leaf spring where it attaches to the frame is pretty much rusting out, so I'm going to have to put a new set on. I put a new set on the passenger, or the driver's side last year or 2 years ago. It looks like the passenger side's going to need a set now too. So we'll let this run until it just drips, and then we pretty much got everything out of there. I'm not going any further than that. And then we'll put the nut back on and we'll fill it with motor oil. Okay guys, so this is the stuff that I put in the car. It's still the 5W30, which it's actually asking for here, but it's for high mileage vehicles. Alright, so it's obviously 75,000 plus, and this has I just checked it, it's 197.5, so it's just about 200,000, and that's a lot of miles on a car. But I have to tell you, the car's been in a bunch of little fender benders because of the trees and the ice on our road, but in reality, and you've seen me fix the fenders on it a bunch of times, but the underneath of the car is in surprisingly good shape, and the car runs good. So, you know, except for a battery every now and then because it has a bunch of electronic junk in it, I've been very pleased with this. I've never had a Chevy that I've kept long enough to put 200,000 miles on them, and I've kept, you know, trucks and cars a long time. It's just that I stopped driving them after a certain thing. But anyway, this is the kind of oil I'm going to put in here. Now, I'm not sure if this takes 4 or 5 quarts. I think it's 4. But we'll put 4 in and then check it and see what's up. Okay, so this takes 4 quarts to fill it. where's that container? It's slightly over full because of the oil filter going to be getting oil in it. But if you hold the container flat there, you can see it's at 1 quart. Okay, so there's a quart of oil in here. That means then to put into the car later if I need it, or I could use it for something else. I have to tell you that the car doesn't really use any oil. Very seldom do I put any motor oil into the cars. I mean, they just don't seem to use them. So what I'm going to do is open the garage door here. I'm going to start this, let the oil pressure go up. I don't give it any gas or, you know, rev the motor until after the oil pressure is up. So let's just check that and see what we have here. And then I want to close the cap and stuff over there. So oil pressure's right there. Okay. So I'll just leave this run for a couple of, maybe a half a minute. And then I'm going to shut it off and fix all the spouts and everything over there. And then I'm going to get this out of the garage. Now what I do in that half minute, I also check and see if there's any leaks underneath anywhere. Because once you have the motor oil, you know, once it's full and the oil pressure is all the way up, it'll leak if it has problems anywhere. Now if you look on the floor there, you can see there's, let me back up, you can see there's a drip or two here and there. But what you're really checking for is you want to see if there's a drip that's constantly running out the door here with you. We're at the end here, and there's no oil drips. So that tells me that that thing is fine. I don't have to worry about it dripping. And I will keep an eye on it as we go. I usually check the oil if we're going to go on any kind of a long trip. And to me, a long trip is maybe 150, 200 miles. And I'll check it then, but otherwise I let it go. So now I'm going to take that motor oil, put it into one of those big containers, or 2 of the containers, and then I'll save that for my wood stove. And you can see that I have a container right there that actually that girl brought me that owns the Jeep the other day because I had run out. So now I have some. Okay guys, so that's pretty much it for the cars. I have one other thing to do yet. I need to change the oil on the four-wheeler. So I'm going to get that in here in a minute and change that. Okay guys, so I got the four-wheeler in here and I'm draining the oil now. This is a 250cc Honda motor. They've been around for quite a while. Very good motors. I like them a lot. It's a Recon ES. It's not four-wheel drive, it's only two-wheel drive. But it does everything I need it to do. I've had no problems with it except, and I'll tell you what it is. I bought this thing brand new. Now the problem is, I don't remember what year I bought it. I think it was 2004. Okay, that would make it, 2014 would be 10 plus 5. It would make it 10, 14, 15 years old. And I have replaced the tires once, a set of tires. I change oil every year in it. I do it once a year, usually in the summertime, but this year I'm a little slow. So I got it, I'm changing it now. Never had a problem with the motor in any way, shape, or form. It hasn't needed a spark plug, it hasn't needed anything except the oil change. So to change the oil on this, I use an 11/16 socket, works fine. The only problem I've had obviously is the seat. Okay, I dropped a tree by mistake, a little sapling on this, and broke that off. Tried welding the plastic, but I ended up putting a plate on there. So as far as Honda goes, the only thing that's really been wrong with this, besides the seat, which I think I probably cut that with a screwdriver in my pocket, and that started it going, because once they tear, they really shrink pretty much. I should get a new seat for it, but anyway, it runs really good, never have a problem with it, it always starts, and I have also replaced a starter. Other than that, nothing. I mean nothing. I haven't even adjusted the brakes on it yet, because the brakes don't need to be adjusted yet. It's just been a fine running Honda. And I'm thinking about buying a new one, but I really don't want one of these because of getting older. I'd really like something I could see it in a lot easier, like sport utility vehicle. I think they're called SUVs, but I'm not positive. You know, it's one of them four-wheel drive things. Two people can sit in it. You can buy them for 4 people. I only want one for 2 people, but I want an enclosure on it, and I'd like a heater in it. So I've been looking at those, but this thing works good. It's nice to take the dog with this because I can get off of it quick when I got to get a hold of them for some reason. But yeah, it runs very good. It's a good running little Honda. I would say this thing will take another 10 years of somebody who would take care of it, and I'm just gonna probably hang on to it. So anyway, I'm changing the motor oil in this. You can see the little dipstick there. This is where you change the oil and check the oil, and the plug for the motor oil is directly underneath the center of it, and there's like a plate under there to keep it from getting damaged from driving them. And there's a hole in the plate. You could just put an 11/16 socket up there and it comes right out. But like I say, other than that, I have had no problem with it, and I use it every single day. There's not a day that goes by that I don't run this because of the dog. So I just thought you'd like to know that. And I think it uses like a quart of motor oil. It's not much. Now these are fairly small. I think this is like, it's not the smallest four-wheeler you can buy, but it's like for an adult, this is about the smallest. And I was surprised because without four-wheel drive, I've had no problems with it. I don't get stuck in the snow or anything. Now I don't go trying to drive in 18 inches of snow either. I drive in, you know, 6 inches of snow or whatever, and then I'll keep it on the roads to run the dog, but or on the edges of the roads. But anyway, very happy with this. It was well worth it. I think I paid, I want to say like $4,000 when I first bought it. I think that's what it cost me, and I think it was worth every penny because it's like I say, it's more than 10 years old. I'm gonna have to try and find the book on it. I was looking before, but I couldn't find it because I've never really bought anything for it. So I believe it's a 2004, but I'm not positive of that. I have to check it. So, like I say, about a quart or so of motor oil, and this thing's good for another year. Alright guys, well that's Saturday. Or Friday, I'm sorry, Friday. So I'll be seeing you tomorrow probably on some other project. But this is what I wanted to get done today, so I have the 3 vehicles, oil changed on them, put some antifreeze in them, windshield wiper fluid, whatever I could while I was looking at them. And I'll put motor oil in this and then I'll be done. It's 3 o'clock, so probably another 15-20 minutes I'll take Bullseye out, and that'll be the end of my day. Have a good one, my friends. Bye.